through specific schemes which we've applied for funds for, and EA applied for funds for, and through initiatives such as catchment sensitive farming. So all these initiatives have been directed at trying to conserve the status of the Clun Sack. Yet the system, inverted commas, still allows bad things to happen in that catchment, such as farming, which is totally unsustainable, right on top of the Sack.
Yeah, I'm asking, seeing Natural England as well. I've arranged to see Sue Buckingham.
Yeah.
So I might raise one or two of those things with her.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sue's responsible for the River Team SSI. Sue, it's Kerry Meehan that's responsible for the Clun Sack at Natural England. But the River Team SSI is analogous to the Clun Sack. It's just got a different status in terms of its protection.
Yeah. Okay. Coming on to sort of planning policy, how does the Shropshire the core strategy, the main planning document, does that say very much about intensive agriculture or poultry units?
It doesn't say anything. To be honest, I don't know much about that. I just know the bits that pertain to the AUB.
Okay.
So again, it's a rather weighty document, and when we lost our planning officer, I think that's some of the things that we lost along with that. That knowledge and that background. So when I comment on something, it will be specific related to from the core strategy or from the national planning policy framework, so we can extract out the relevant parts that we feel apply to either the AUB or to biodiversity or both, and quite often the two are indivisible. And here's an example of a planning application that we recently commented on. This is the last poultry unit shed that we commented on, which I thought, well, you've probably seen this anyway. This is the Aston Lunslow one, but we always put it as part of our.
Yeah, you have to go down the policy.
Yes, yeah, and I'm not sure whether that's actually taken much into account when the planners look at our responses. So we will draw out all these reasons why you shouldn't be giving planning permission.
Yes, so I could refer to this in terms, if rather than making you say, oh well, it's policy X and Y. Basically, you're asserting which are the key policies in these documents,
yes,
which apply to an application like this. Yeah. So I do have a copy of this, so I can go back to that. But what you were saying there about how much attention is paid to this sort of. I mean, so this is a how many page? Say 10
pages,
letter. I mean, I'm just interested which bits you think the key planning officers would be focusing on in your replies.
If I was the planning officer, I'd be looking at the AUB in terms of its designation is a landscape. It's a protected landscape, so I'd probably be going straight to the bits related to the protected landscape. However, my argument would be the fact that it looks green doesn't mean it's all okay. The landscape is made up of its hay meadows, its healthy rivers, its ancient woodlands. So we have to take all those things into account when we respond to a planning application. So our responses are broad as they need to be. Here we take into the impact of tourism.
I was just flicking back to that because you actually highlight that.
So we've got a massive remit. Our role to conserve and enhance involves all these things. It's not just how the landscape looks. It's what makes the landscape function, but also things like the tourist economy, because that's part of what we do as well. So if I was historic environment, I would only be commenting on historic environment. And I suppose because it's historic environment commenting, that has a great weight applied to it. If it's Shropshire Council's ecology team comment on it, they would only comment on the ecology aspects of it. And I suppose that carries great weight. But when we comment, because we're commenting on a lot of things, does that necessarily have the gravitas of other comment? I really don't know. This is a question I'm asking or just putting out there.
It's interesting. It's a little bit like my observations about how some of these things are dealt with when the application's in and the planning officer is getting lots of comments from lots of consultees. A lot of them are statutory or internal consultees within the local authority. And they appear to be I think of it slightly as silo type comments, that you get the rights of way people comment on the rights of way implications, the ecology, the historic environment, the landscape, and then there's the external ones from the Environment Agency and Natural England and sometimes Historic England or whoever. And it seems to all funnel in, and it's the responsibility of that planning officer to join everything up into one report. And obviously there are people who put in comments who will comment on a lot of these different things. But most of the required consultees, shall we say, are much narrower, apart from perhaps the AONB, who has this broader...
We're not even a statutory consultee, I don't think, because we don't have a statutory role in terms of planning.
Would you, maybe you'd come under the sort of normal internal consultees like that? I mean, they always ask traffic, have traffic got any comments and things like that.
I think we're the next tier down from people like the Environment Agency and Natural England.
Okay.
Clearly, if a development is deemed of such scale that it has an impact on the AONB, invariably we are contacted about it. But sometimes I feel there's a disconnect, because we might be commented about a yurt that really we wouldn't have too many problems with a yurt, but with a poultry shed. So almost a poultry shed and a yurt is actually, it's almost on the same level in terms of the planning's perception of that development on the AONB. And it's probably worth you having a brief chat with Phil about this, because I know Phil's got some viewpoints on that as well. But,
so are you saying do you think you automatically get consulted about poultry shed applications, or are there some that you maybe haven't been?
I think there's some that we haven't been. Again, I'm not the filter for the poultry sheds. If something comes into my email, it's either via Phil or via Alison Kay. Alison.
Yes.
So I might not know about anything in terms of a development going forward, because I'm not the first.
So it would be Phil who would...
Phil said, come on, we really should be thinking about putting a response together for this. But there was a development at Wetmore, right on the AONB boundary, which I didn't know about, and I'm not sure whether anybody else from the team knew about. But it's a significant expansion of an existing poultry unit.
Which one? Where's Wetmore?
Onybury. It's in between... If you go to Onybury Junction and then head towards Downton, do you know that back road there?
Yes. Okay. Yep. I know. Yep.
So right
on the Herefordshire Shropshire.
The Herefordshire Shropshire border, yes.
Oh, is it? In fact, is it in Herefordshire?
It's in Herefordshire,
yes.
Right?
Yes, I know.
Right. It's within 3 kilometres of the AONB boundary. We didn't know about it, or I didn't know about it.
So does Herefordshire contact the AONB when there's something near the border?
I am not sure they do.
sorry, I was always just thinking about it being